Welcome to Saturday Morning Retro, episode 12. Before we start the show, we want to thank all of our wonderful fans who have supported us. And if you want to show support for the Rated G Network, you can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/RatedG4Gamers. You can also find us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Rated G4Gamers. And finally, please rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. We appreciate all the love. One final note, we have a very special limited time giveaway. We're giving away one copy of Assassin's Creed Valhalla for the Xbox One/Series X. One physical copy will be given to the lucky winner. So head on over to our Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, or Instagram, like this post or video, and leave a comment and tell us which Assassin's Creed game is your favorite and why. Note that you can enter once per episode and once per social media service. This contest is open to U.S. residents only, and good luck to everyone who enters. So welcome to the Saturday Morning Retro. This is episode 12. We are a podcast on the Rated G Network focused on retro gaming and giving ourselves an excuse to play our collection. So I am your host, Dave Rotino, and this is my co-host, Dan, the podcaster formerly known as Classic Robinson.
What's going on, man?
It's
our anniversary.
We got a very special day, anniversary, 1 year anniversary. This is our 12th episode.
This is the 12th episode. We started this during the zombie apocalypse.
Yes, we did.
I mean, we were home, so we said, since we were all stuck at home, we said, let's play some retro games. And start a new podcast.
Exactly. I'm looking at your wall of games back there, and I'm just like, you got a ton of games. Damn, we need to get into them.
This is half the collection. This is not even a full collection.
That's insane.
I got games surrounding me from this side to that side, so I'm just surrounded in games.
Jesus, how many do you have right now? What's the count? Tell the listeners. Final
count, right, as of this morning, because I did get an Amazon package this morning. I got 4,302 games.
4,302. That's insane.
Yeah,
love it.
Oh, that's modest compared to a lot of collectors out there who've been doing this a lot longer than me, right?
Yeah, but that's still like, compared to my like 1,700, right? I think I got about 1,750 right now, which is still nothing to scoff at. I got some nice shelves. I got like 4 shelves of video games now. It's pretty good.
I know how it feels. Remember when we first started, the show, and we both were collecting, and we were on Instagram, and we were talking to other collectors, and we said, I remember I had like 1,700. And I'm not gonna name the person, but there was a collector who was like, "Ah, man, I remember how it felt to have 1,700 like 8 years ago."
Yep. Yeah, because they got in early.
So I can't wait for the day when you hit like 4,500. And I'm like, man, I remember when I had 4,500. So long ago. Man, I remember it felt great.
Well, I'm at the point now where it's really tough to do the retro collecting, right? Because you go out there and you see the same stuff over and over again. You're not excited about Metal Gear Solid or like Call of Duty 2 or the Maddens or the whatever. Like a lot of it, even like you start seeing some of the same fighting games. I'm seeing some of the same RPGs, and I'm like, I have this already, don't I? As opposed to, I obviously don't have this. Let me go ahead and get this. I gotta check.
At this point, I'm thinking about being a seller on eBay, opening up an eBay store.
Yeah, man.
Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking about that because we see a lot of the same things, but those are games that we have that maybe there are newer collectors or collectors somewhere else in the Midwest or on the West Coast that they don't have, that they don't see on a regular basis, right? So I feel like there's maybe a small obligation to pick those up and maybe, sell them for a good price. Don't try to beat anybody to the head. Sell it for a good price online so people can add those games to their collection and they don't just sit on the shelf or maybe go in the garbage eventually.
Sure.
Sure. When Goodwill figures out that they're just going to sit there and no one's going to take them, what do they do? They just sit there and collect dust in the back or something.
Right. Like that copy of Madden that's still $5 that no one's going to buy.
There's somebody out there that probably has nostalgic for Madden that would love to play that game, right? Like the only sports games that I go back to play, from like the 360, PS3 ever, are, or even going back to the PlayStation 1, PS2, are the basketball games. Like,
Right.
I love going back and playing the old, like, the beginning, the first NBA 2K games, right? Then it was the ESPN. For 1 year, it was like ESPN basketball. Then they went back to 2K games. Like, I love going back and playing basketball games. So maybe somebody is a Madden collector and they love playing all the Madden games. That's realistic.
No, it's not.
It is. It is. You may not know this person. It's realistic.
Yeah.
Trust me.
The one fictional person who's like, damn, Madden 06 was the best Madden.
Hey, I'm a basketball fanatic. I love football, but I don't think I'm a football fanatic. I'm not good at calling plays and playing football games.
Yeah.
It's really tough. So, but I'm sure there are enthusiasts like that. Mm-hmm. So I think we should open up a Rated G store on eBay.
Yeah. Okay.
I really do.
Wow. Look at this.
Well, what's that? What's like the number one store in Japan? I haven't tipped my. What, Sweet Potato, right?
Super Potato, yeah.
They just
went on eBay. Yeah.
They just went on eBay, right? So we can eat. I import games from another like smaller video game shop, but Sweet Potato,
Super Potato. I wish it was called Sweet Potato now.
Sweet Potato.
It's so much better. I've been there. It's a great place, man.
Yeah, but they're expensive. They are expensive. So,
of course, but they have good stuff and it's good quality.
And they keep it in great. They keep it in great shape.
They do. Yeah. And it's a multi-level, if I remember correctly, because it was in Akihabara, and there was a hell ton of just massive 7-story towers that start with like anime on the ground floor, or sometimes figurines, or sometimes the games are on the bottom floor, and you just keep going up and you're like, oh my God, this is insane. I spent a whole entire day just walking up and down stairs trying to like find stuff.
So
I was just floored.
We should start a store. We should start a Rated G for Gamers store on eBay. I'm telling you.
All right.
With some of the stuff that we find, we should just post it and put it online.
Right.
So, but all right, let's get this show back on the road. We have an awesome show this month on our 1-year anniversary. We're going to dive deep into our backlog, and I'm going to talk about Def Jam Vendetta. I've never played this game. I know, shocking. Wow. You can at me on Twitter. I never played this game. So I'm excited to talk about my thoughts. Dave is going to talk about Chrono Cross.
That's right.
I know one thing about this game. Just one thing. That's all I know. I do own it, but we're going to talk about that. I'll tell you.
You have to own it. It's a classic, Dan. Spoilers.
Is it really a classic?
It's a classic.
Is it truly a classic?
Yes.
Oh,
and I will tell you why after the break.
All right, you're gonna have to convince me because by all the reviews and it's just what people say about it, I thought it was just like a thud, but apparently people love this game. It has its community, right? But as we always start each and every show, this time in gaming history, we're not going to go back far. Since it's our anniversary, I figured why not start with gaming history with us, right? This month, in 2016, that was our first PAX that we went to together representing Rated G for Gamers podcast.
Yeah, that's right.
And I remember the highlight of my first PAX. Was that we had all our bags at bag check, coat check, and we were there on the last day on Sunday, and we had to rush to the airport to catch our flight back.
Oh, that's right.
But we had to play Star Fox Zero because it was like the new Nintendo game, the Wii U. And Star Fox Zero actually released worldwide that same month too, so it's the anniversary of Star Fox Zero. And I remember we were playing the heck out of it because we wanted to get I think stickers or coins. We needed 3 of them because we needed to play 3 games, and we had to play at least like the first mission of each game. I forgot what the other 2 games were.
I think it was the Kirby. It may have been the Kirby game, like the Robobot.
Okay,
that sounds familiar. And maybe Dragon Quest Builders was the other one.
It could have been Dragon Quest Builders.
Yeah.
Because we wanted the T-shirts. They had free T-shirts.
Yep.
And we had to play 3 games. We had to play them to the finish of whatever the demo session was. So I remember we were like literally like maybe in 2 hours before our flight, sitting here playing.
We're like, now we got to do it. Got to get that T-shirt.
We got to do it. We got to do it.
And we did.
And that was like
we got T-shirts out of it.
And that was like the rush of PAX for me. Mm-hmm. In retrospect, we should have just stayed that extra day.
I mean, well, now we know.
Now we do. Now we do.
We're pros, you know. I have to say that just on a side note, the PAX East, the PAX in general, the convention T-shirt game is not strong anymore. I don't know what happened. Doesn't seem like people were giving out T-shirts that much, right? I think you got like 6 T-shirts that year. Right?
I got more than 6 T-shirts.
Yeah,
I got like 9 T-shirts.
Right. The last time that we went in 2020, like right before everything went crazy, I don't think I got a single T-shirt. Very upset.
I don't think I got a T-shirt in the last 2 years.
Right.
Yeah, 2019 or 2020.
Not giving them out anymore. I don't know, but anyway.
Remember when PAX first started, like those pins were like really important, and they're still sort of important too. Like a lot of people still like to collect those pins.
Oh yeah.
But the pins were even bigger, right? In the beginning, the first couple of years, and that sort of tapered off a little bit. And then
that was about the time they started Penny Arcade, because they have like exclusive pins that you can get and trade with people as like a little like game within a convention or whatever. So I think a little bit of that maybe kind of died off because it was new at the time, so everyone's like, yeah, let's do it. But
then you had T-shirts, right? And everyone was giving out T-shirts, and you had to do things to get T-shirts, and then that sort of died down too.
Yeah.
So I miss PAX. It's sad this is our first year that we're not going to go to PAX because it's all going to be a virtual event. Yep. So I'm looking forward to 2022. I'm confident that things are going to get better. I'll be vaccinated. I know you're vaccinated.
Oh yeah, I'm good, baby.
By the time 2022 comes, you have to get your 3rd shot. They said, right?
They call me old Moderna 2 times, Dan. I'm good.
Sounds like an MMO.
Yeah, exactly. Moderna 2 times.
So I can't wait. I can't wait till next year. All right. So Dave, you get any good pickups this month?
I did. I'm kind of slowing my roll a little bit, as you know.
You're trying to build that deck. You're trying to build that deck for the summer.
It's happening, man. I got everything I need, so maybe I can start getting back on the video game grind. But I did manage to pick some stuff up. Viva Pinata for the PC. I already have
that came out on PC. I didn't know
it did. Yep.
I thought that was 360 exclusive. I didn't know.
Yeah,
it was PC
yeah. But I mean, it's Microsoft, and it was the Games for Windows initiative. So they were trying to,
all that big acquisition, and we got heavy hitters like Viva Pinata.
Yeah, well, they were trying to like make a Xbox Live thing service for like PC, but it was hot garbage. They had like I remember like BioShock 2 had it with like achievements that were like on that network, and you had to log in, and it was just a nightmare. They like abandoned it within the year. Which I'm glad, because it's just no. And like, okay, Grand Theft Auto, I think one of the like GTAs, you had to sign in to Games for Windows and then also sign into the Rockstar Network or whatever, right? The social club on top of that. So you had to sign in twice before you could even play the damn game. It was terrible. But I also got Simpsons Hit and Run for the GameCube.
Ooh, good game. Grand Theft Auto ripoff.
Right.
with the Simpsons characters.
Yeah, pretty solid. That was a gift from a friend of mine who was doing some spring cleaning. I cleared that out. And then Sega GT 2002 / Jet Set Radio Future.
Ooh, for the Xbox. OG Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It became the pack-in title for the system. I think in 2002, I think a year out, they're like, we need to kind of spice it up a little bit. So they tossed that in there as a thing. Great game. Both of them are great games. So yeah, that's just a small sample of what I picked up. How about you?
Okay. Well, let me just say this. If you're going to, it's really hard to be a collector nowadays, right? The games are getting truly, they're going up in price. I look now at some of the GameCube games that I own and see how much they cost, and it's like, oh my god, really?
Yeah.
You know, like Mario Sunshine costs how much?
Yeah.
Like, that's over $100 now. Like that's ridiculous. But my uncle, you know, if you start, you should always start with your friends and family to see if they have any games in the garage or the attic.
Right. You know,
tell
them, look, we'll help you get rid of your junk. Right.
Yeah. So my uncle, you know, like he knows I have games. I never asked him. He's never offered, but he did ask me the other day. Because I was telling him, you know, I was like, oh, you know, I got this game, and this game is now, you know, it's crazy. It's worth this much. But, you know, I don't want to sell it. I want to keep it because, you know, that's dear to my heart. And he looked at me and he said, man, Dan, how much can I get for my Atari? Like, you know, how much money can I get for? He was excited. I said, $20 maybe.
$20 on a good day. Yeah. Nobody wants it.
Sorry, but the Atari. The Atari had its shine when it was like expensive, like I think in the mid to late 90s, and it tapered off.
Yeah, it had that nostalgia revival, right?
Yeah, but I said I'll take it off your hands for you. He says, no, I like to see it in the garage. So
just not getting rid of it.
That Atari is mine. Okay, that Atari is mine. Eventually.
Nice.
I'm pulling. So I'm on a new kick. I am off trying to find as many PS3 games as I can while they're still being sold in the wild.
It's a good move.
It's a good, and hopefully. And some of these PS3 games are expensive. Like NFL Tour, right? Like it's not a Madden game, and it's not even a true simulator. But this game, I got this game for $2. You go on Lukey, this game is like $30, $26. You know. Loose $26 loose, and it's like $30 you know, complete. It doesn't have the manual, but I do have the case.
Okay.
Soldier of Fortune, I got the whole series, by the way. Like I just, you know me, I like to have the whole series. I got Soldier of Fortune. Well, Payback is the one I found at GameStop, which again, it's, you know, it's weird to see, you know, a random Soldier of Fortune game. Who brought this game back? Traded it in, but I didn't know that this game actually started. I don't know if it started, but I know the first game I can find was on an SNES. Then they had Soldier of Fortune on an Xbox, Soldier of Fortune 2.
Genesis and Super Nintendo, I think, was the original one, and possibly PC.
Definitely PC. Definitely,
there may have been an old PC one. Yeah.
So I went and picked all of those up. Dreamcast. I got Soldier of Fortune.
Right.
Also on the Dreamcast.
Yeah, that was kind of the revival of that franchise. Yeah.
And I got the SNES, Dreamcast, and Xbox. The second one came out on the Xbox. So I have that. I got Skate 2.
Nice.
I don't know how that compares to the Tony Hawk games. Right.
Skate is actually, it's different, but it's very good.
How different is it?
Well,
what's the difference? What's the difference between Tony Hawk 2 or Tony Hawk games and then Skate 2?
Well, okay. The first thing you'll notice is the camera angle is kind of very low to the ground. So it's like a skate video. So you kind of see it from like the Dutch angle. So you're kind of like looking up at the skater from like the ground type situation. So it's very low. It's not like Tony Hawk where it's kind of third person removed a little bit, so the camera's up here and like Tony's going this or your skater's going this way, and then beyond that, the way you do tricks is I believe you use the sticks, and you kind of like do the movements sort of. So instead of like hitting like, I don't know, triangle and left to do like an ollie or whatever, right, or to do like a nose blunt, you would kind of like swing the stick to the right, like the right stick to the right, and then maybe the left stick to the left. I think each stick is like the front and back wheels, maybe. So you kind of like do the motions in a way. So it feels a little bit more like you're like street skating than like Tony Hawk, where it's just like button presses, right? It's like a rhythm game in a way, Tony Hawk versus like Skate.
So which game would you prefer? Like which game? Would you prefer the Tony Hawk games or the Skate games?
I always love Tony Hawk. I love the classic Tony Hawks, but I wouldn't kick Skate out of bed. I'll tell you that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and two is up there. Two. Some people think 2 is the best in the series.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I also picked up Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2. I thought I had these games, to be honest. Like, I thought I had these games. Apparently I didn't. I found them at GameStop. Always pro tip, doesn't matter what the price is on the GameStop sticker, you always ask, hey, can you just double check this price for me? Because sometimes they're lower and they didn't put a new sticker on it. So those games were definitely cheaper than the sticker price. So it was a couple of dollars cheaper, which I was okay with. I was okay with paying. So
these are the PS3 versions, right?
No, Left 4 Dead.
Yeah,
Left 4 Dead.
Yeah,
I thought this was a 360 exclusive.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, maybe you're right. I thought it was on PS3 too. Maybe I'm wrong. But okay.
No, but speaking of PS3, I also picked up Ratchet and Clank Future Frontal Assault.
Oh, yeah.
This game is like $50 now online.
And you got it. You got it for less than $5?
No, I wish. That would have been awesome. That would have been awesome. I did pay to get this game because this is one of the 2 Ratchet and Clank games I don't have for the PS3. There was another Ratchet and Clank game that wasn't like a traditional one. I don't know if it was
Destruction, maybe.
No, I have Tools and Destruction. There was another one. I can't think of the name off the top of my head. That wasn't like a traditional Ratchet and Clank game. It was sort of like they went, and took the game in a different direction, which, I always appreciate, but it's sold out everywhere and it's crazy. It's like another $60 online. Right. Maybe I'll find it hopefully when we come back from break, I'll find it. And I'll say what that game is. I got the Scott Pilgrim versus the World from Limited Run. I got that game that came in.
I don't have mine yet. The arguably the best beat 'em up game of all time. It's really good. Wow, I'm a little jealous, but we gotta play. You gotta wait until I get the copy, because man, is that game good.
Underrated game for the Dreamcast. Mag Force Racing.
Oh yeah.
I picked that up.
Nice.
And I also picked up Angry Birds Trilogy for the 3DS, only because it was complete. I got it for about $6. I mean, I had my Angry Bird, my Angry Bird time where I loved Angry Birds. I was playing it on my iPhone all the time. I do own 2 other Angry Bird games. I think the Star Wars Angry Birds for the Wii U, and I own the Angry Birds. I think I own the same one, the trilogy for the Wii.
Sounds
obviously
right.
The Wii version, I think you have to use the the
controls.
nunchucks, motion controls,
of course.
So I have it for the 3DS. Honestly, I think this is obviously a cell phone game, so it better played on a mobile. I mean, like on a handheld device than playing it on a console. Maybe the Wii version is better with the nunchucks. Maybe that's the way to play it if you want to play it on console. The Wii U version just has the Star Wars characters, which is the game that I really loved on my phone. Because I'm a big Star Wars fan.
Yeah, man, I had them all. I had all the seasons, right? All the different whatevers, and I kept every time I got a new phone, it wouldn't carry over my progress, and I'm like, because I was trying to 3-star every level and complete it, and I don't know how many times I restarted that game until I just said, I'm done.
And lastly, I also picked up Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, the new way to play on the Wii. So I do own Jungle Beat for the GameCube, but I don't own the Congos. I got to get those.
Got to get those Congos. They're not
always,
too much, are they?
We used to always see them when we went out game hunting.
That's right.
And I never picked it up.
That's right. Because I
honestly didn't know what it was.
It's all over the place.
Yeah, but now I don't see it anymore.
Yeah.
Now I don't see it anymore.
Yeah. It can't be that much money.
It's about $30. Okay.
Yeah, that's a fair price.
Yeah, but then I'm beating myself up because I could have got it for $5 or $4 if we would have picked it up at garage sales, because it was just sitting there.
I know.
And I didn't know what they were. I honestly didn't know what they were.
It's a hindsight is 2020 situation for sure.
Yes. Now I got to pay the $30 if I want to play it. But I have the Wii version, so I can play it with the Wii remote control. So
nice.
The new way to play.
Nice.
So Dave, no Triple R this month. It will be making a comeback next month. But we got to switch it up a little. For our anniversary, I figured we'll ask a retro question. And the retro question this month is, what's your favorite retro gaming console?
Ooh, this is a good question. Now, first thing I want to clarify before we get into it is how do you want to handle things like the Game Boy Advance that can play Game Boy Color or Game Boy? Or
well, here are the rules.
Yeah.
Well, here are the rules. You can't cheat and say you love the Retron 5 because it can play 7 different consoles.
That doesn't. It's not a console. That's a clone console.
Well, listen. It may, yes, true, but let's just put it out there. You can't use that.
Okay. Well, now I got to change my answer. Cross that off.
So you can't use a clone console, and backwards compatibility has to be the icing on the cake. It can't be the reason.
Be the main driver.
It can't be the main reason for your pick. It has to be the icing on the cake.
You gotta judge the console and the merits of the console, and not its ability to play everything under the sun. Okay.
Yes.
I'm with you there. Okay. So I thought about this. Obviously, we kind of proposed this before the show. So I thought about this a little bit, and I said, okay, what are the classic consoles out there, right? Oh, there's the Nintendo, right? The Nintendo Switch. I mean, that's a current console, so you got to toss that to the side. But
I know you have nostalgic for the Odyssey, and that's what you're gonna pick.
I mean, I have nostalgia for the Atari. To be fair, I never had an Odyssey, but yeah, man. I mean, then you look at the Super Nintendo, you look at the PlayStation consoles, right? There's a lot of love there. Xbox 360, amazing console. That was my shift from Big Blue to Big Green. Right, so it was hard, and they all had their merits. 360 with the wireless controllers, original Xbox with internal storage, which was a game changer. There's a lot of different things to consider, and then you got to look at the games library. Right, look at the games library when the system came out, the games that are available for it, the graphical innovations. So all of that being said, because all that stuff comes into play. All right, I'm gonna have to go with the OG PS1.
Wow,
that's my console. Yep,
with the black DV the black disc.
Right. The black coated disc on the bottom partially to prevent privacy. Also, they really just look cool. Yeah, man, it had the best fighting franchise Tekken on it. It had a lot of the classic Final Fantasies are on there. Very good RPG system. Had a lot of good shooters. Right, had all the best sports games on there. Right, it was amazing. They had the memory cards. It was, I would say, arguably the console that really brought memory cards into the forefront. Right, as a main thing.
That's true.
Every game had memory card support. You could just drop your game on there, which was cool. You could trade them with friends and share your save states. The controller was amazing. It was the extension of the Super Nintendo. You got 2 shoulder buttons. 4 face buttons in the diamond pattern, which is now the gold standard, right? Start and select, and then eventually you got the DualShock controller with the 2 analog sticks, which is now standard. Every damn console has 2 analog sticks on it, so they really kind of pushed things forward a little bit. Had a lot of love for it. I bought it late. I bought it in '99, I believe, or 2000.
Ooh, that means you got a big library of games that you could have got cheap on the cheap.
That's right. Yeah, first game I got was Wipeout 3. And then the second game I got was the Final Fantasy Anthology, which was Final Fantasy 5 and 6 for the PS1. So it had both games on there in their original format, more or less, and some CG visuals and some extra little bells and whistles. Those are the first 2 games I got for that system. I still have all my old PlayStation games. So all the old RPGs. I have my original copy of Chrono Cross. I still have that with the crack down the middle, which I'm a little upset about. But yeah,
with the iconic start screen.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Like that start screen is ingrained in your brain, how it starts up.
Yep.
So
it's crazy.
For better or for worse, because when you had a game that wasn't playing, you clean the heck out of it and you put it in and you hear that start screen, and then that start screen doesn't go away.
Yep. Right, it just hangs. Yeah.
And then you got to open it up and clean the disc again, put it in, hear that start screen, and it's just there, and you're doing everything you can to get past that damn start screen.
Mm-hmm.
You heard it 4 or 5 times. and then the game finally loaded, and you're doing everything. You're putting it upside down. You're cleaning the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember those days. It was tough to be a gamer back then, right? Because we were blowing in the cartridges, and then we were cleaning the disc and putting it upside down.
Yep.
Nostalgia.
Yeah,
Look at
man.
that.
Yeah. So what's your pick?
I went back and forth with the PS2 or the SNES. Those are two heavy hitters for me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could have went modern and did the PS4 because PS4 have some of the best, like, you know, games that I love and best franchise of all time, which is, you know, Uncharted for me at least. And God of War just puts it over the God of War just puts it over the top. But I'm gonna go. I mean, PS4 is retro now. I'm sorry. It's we consider it retro because it is not the current generation of consoles, right? But I'm gonna go SNES on this. I'm gonna go SNES. I have fond memories. Listen, my father passed away when I was 16, and I have fond memories of, you know, him and the NES. And even though he made me sell some of my NES games, get new NES games, I'll never forgive you for that. Still love you, though. Still love you, Dad. But I do have fond memories of him getting me games for the SNES. And it was, he got me that. Like, he made sure that I had the SNES. I don't know if I got it for Christmas or for my birthday. I can't really remember. But I didn't get it when it first came out. I got it like maybe a year afterwards. And, you know, we can argue this, but in my mind, the best game ever made, the best Mario game ever, Super Mario World. It blew my mind when I played it. I said,
it was amazing.
It took the ideas of Super Mario 3 and it ran with it. It made it even better.
Sure.
I love that game. I completed that game. Like, it was the only game I had at the time too. So I completed the heck out of that game. Like, every little thing, every secret, every exit, even the special world. Right, like I'll be honest, I can't beat this. I beat the special world on the Switch, but I needed that rewind function.
Those are some tough levels. Yeah.
But I didn't need it when I was a kid. I kept going, and you had lives, right? Like, you actually had a certain amount of lives, and the game was over. And I beat it, and it was like a sense of pride. If anybody came over and you saw all the Koopas or the little Koopa shells or the Goombas were all Mario heads. Yeah, there was a sense of pride of like, I did it. I did it, right?
Nice.
And then I had the Super Scope 6. It was like one of the number one actual peripherals that worked. We had all these peripherals on the NES that were garbage, that were trash on a day scale. The Super Scope 6 worked. I was like, oh my God, this is the future. You put the little sensor up and you're shooting things.
A little shoulder mounted cannon, basically.
Yeah, that was awesome. You didn't have, you only really had 2 games to play.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there was Battle Clash, the Super Scope 6, that was the pack-in.
Yeah.
And there was a Yoshi game too.
There was a Yoshi game, but there was another like sort of Battle Clash game too. There were 2 of them.
Oh yeah, Metal Combat, I think, or
something along those.
Yeah,
I forgot
Revenge, maybe.
Which game it was, but the same uncle with the Atari. By the way, I mean, this, I'm bringing in full circle now with my uncle. He came. He said, "I got a present for you," and it was like he knew I had a Super Scope, and he had the second game, the Metal Combat, whatever the name is. It escapes me. Then later on, I found out it wasn't really a present for me. He brought it for his son. But my cousin didn't have a Super Scope, so he couldn't play it. And it was like, well, Dan has a Super Scope, so he gave it to me. And it was like, oh, yeah, it's a belated birthday gift.
Nice.
So, but I didn't care. I loved it. I was like, it was something else I can play with the Super Scope. And then, the Ninja Turtles in Time. One of my top 10 games of all. Well, listen, 2 of the top 10 games of all time come from the SNES, right? Super Mario World and Turtles in Time. Love Turtles in Time. Beat the hell out of Turtles in Time. I think I beat Turtles in Time more than I beat any other game ever. Nice. I could do that on my own. I don't even need a partner. I think I know you like Scott Pilgrim, but I think Turtles in Time is the best beat 'em up of all time. Period. Point blank.
It's up there, man. It's up there. And to be fair, Scott Pilgrim does take some notes from Turtles in Time.
Yeah.
So,
And then, I mean, let's just take it at the controller, right? How creative and innovative that controller was. You say you love the PS1. the PS1, the ideas for the PS1 controller come from this controller, the SNES.
Yep.
All right. The diamond-shaped buttons, the triggers. All right. It was the first mainstream. I don't know if it was the first controller, but it was the first mainstream controller to have trigger buttons. In the form factor, they were rounded, sort of at on each corner, so they could fit in your hand, which was vastly different from the NES controller that had those sharp edges that if you're really grinding, it would hurt your hand.
Yeah,
so
it's terrible.
They changed the form factor of that.
You had to get your pointer fingers around the top just to kind of like hold it and grip it right. And I get tons of blisters.
So this was like the console that this was the console that sort of had the split with Sony because they were making, if it wasn't for this console, they wouldn't be a PlayStation.
That's
right?
also true. Yeah, because Sony said nah, or Nintendo said nah, we're gonna go with Philips. We know how well that turned out.
Yeah, they never came out. That's how well it came out. That's how well it did.
Yeah.
And I just have fond memories of looking for games to play on the SNES. And I remember that Spider-Man game from the animated series. I remember just one day, I really want that game. It was like, do you want toys or do you want a game? No, I want that game. I want the Spider-Man game.
Mm-hmm.
And the boxes. Remember the original NES boxes were vertical, right? They were vertical standing, where these boxes were horizontal. It was different.
Yep.
You had to hold it sideways.
Yep.
I still hate those boxes because we threw them out. They weren't hard shell. They should have been.
Right.
But the SNES, I got to say, is one of my favorite consoles of all time. It does have RPGs. It has beat 'em ups. It has Mortal Kombat trilogy. Don't play the original Mortal Kombat if you want blood. If you don't care to have the blood, and it's okay. Super Street Fighter 2, the best fighting game I love.
Mm-hmm.
That really is better it's better to be played on the SNES than it was the Genesis. Right, you needed the 6-button controller if you wanted the Genesis. If you're not going arcade style, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So fighting games are on here, RPGs are on here, platformers. There's a plethora of platformers. Some good, some not so good.
Yeah.
So I got to go with the SNES. I have such nostalgia for it. I love collecting for it. And if the game is too expensive, you can get the Japanese version for a pretty good price. The Super Famicom version.
Yeah. As long as there's not a lot of text.
If it's RPG, then you might as well just pay the money.
Forget about
get the English version.
It's no way to get beyond that, or learn Japanese. Yeah, you got options. You got
options.
Uh-huh.
Oh, and then the Mega Man X series started on the Super Nintendo, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
the best ones in the series, I think everyone would agree. 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, and then you got Mega Man Soccer too as well.
Yeah, we do. That's a game.
For some weird reason.
I don't know.
And Mario Kart started on the Super Nintendo, and I think it's underrated, to be honest. I know some people say, if you're a younger person, it's probably harder to play, but I think if you actually sat down and played it, it wouldn't be that hard to play. And this could just be nostalgia talking. I think it does hold up. It's definitely different. I think the 64 version, which was the second game, is the vastly superior version of all versions. Oh. I love that game better.
Well, the OG one started
on SNES.
The OG one is the only one that doesn't have the rubber band physics. So if you're in last place, you get no advantage.
Oh, that's true.
You don't get extra power-ups or special weapons, or they don't give you any way to shoot your way back up to the middle of the pack at least. So
we had a saying back in those days. You ready?
Yeah.
Get good.
Ah, classic. Uh-huh.
Just get good.
Good. Yep.
So on that note, we're going to take a break.
Mm-hmm.
And when we come back, we're going to dive deep into our backlog and talk about Def Jam Vendetta and Chrono Cross. And we're back. Let's dive deep into our backlog. And I'm going to start first. And I know what you're saying. You said it to me when I proposed this. I never played Def Jam Vendetta. Now, I chose this game.
How?
I chose this game out of respect and rest in peace to the man himself, DMX. X is going to give it to you.
That's right,
Wakanda
baby.
for life. Same thing.
Mm-hmm.
because I think this is pretty much the only video game he was in, right? Like I can't think of any other video game where you can actually play as DMX or that he was, in even as a cameo. I could be wrong about the cameo, but this is the only game you could play as DMX. You could actually play as DMX.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of the basketball or football games or other fighting games.
I'm sure his music was in other games like the basketball games, like the NBA 2K. But this is the only game. Yeah. This is the only game that he's playable in. So Def Jam Vendetta came out in North America April 1st, 2003. We can even say, this game in video, this month in video game history came out this month.
Oh, right? Yeah. There you go.
See, it was developed by Aki Corporation, published by EA. It came out on the PS2 and GameCube, which is kind of weird. It didn't come out on the Xbox.
Yeah,
that's kind of weird. Like I figured it would have came out on the Xbox. The second one, Fight for New York, did come out on the Xbox. Actually, that was on the Xbox. It's a wrestling game. That blew my mind. It was a wrestling game. I never knew. I've never played this game. I knew it was a fighting game, right? But I didn't know it was an actual wrestling game made by Aki, right? Because Aki, those guys made what was it, WCW versus NWO, the WWF, WrestleMania 2000, and No Mercy.
No Mercy, yeah.
The N60 made all those N64 games that I love so much. I played this on the PS2 Slim. So I did play it on original hardware. I did dust off the PS2 Slim. It's just easier to play on the Slim. I didn't want to get the big boy out. So I enjoyed my time with this game. It blew my mind. I honestly did not know it was a wrestling game.
Right.
I just knew it was a fighting game. And the first thing I did was I got the cheat codes because kids back in those days, you went to the video game store, like not Best Buy or anything, but you went to like they didn't call it retro game stores. They were just, video game stores. They were game stores.
Yeah.
Whenever you bought a game, they would ask if you want the cheat codes, and they were already installed on the memory card, right? Like they could put it on a memory card for $10. So you pay an extra $10, you get all the cheat codes on the memory card. So I had to look up the cheat codes, and you had to, because you didn't get all the characters opened up at once, which I hate. Just give me all the characters to play, at least if you're going to play like a single player game.
That extends the reason they did that was to extend the life of the game, right? Oh, I'm getting all this new stuff, right? It was a concerted effort, right? We give you like 5-10 fighting guys, and then there's a bunch of question marks. You
have to unlock the a lot of the main characters like DMX. I think Method Man is already playable at the start, and Capone. I think like Joe Buttons and Keith. No, Keith Murray is playable. But DMX, Method Man, Scarface, Joe Buttons, WC. Well, those are the guys that you have to unlock. But you can play. But you can play as like Ghostface, Redman. Oh, Nori. You have to unlock Nori as well.
Just naming all those wrestlers is like, yes, this is definitely of a certain time in rap history.
Yes. So this is a wrestling game combined with hip hop, right? Like if you took hip hop and you took wrestling, you put them together, you got Def Jam Vendetta. It was an interesting time. Yeah. This was an interesting time. 2003. So, like I said, DMX, Method Man, Redman, Ludacris. Forget about Ludacris. He's in this game. He's on. He's somebody you have to unlock. Nori, Capone, Scarface, Ghostface Killer, Keith Murray, WC, Joe Buttons, and you had DJ Funkmaster Flex as doing all the commentary.
Funkmaster Flex.
He had everything except for the explosions. That's a new thing, right? That he does the explosions.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but back then he's doing a lot of talking, and honestly, I thought he was good. He fit like this whole thing, like he fit the style. So the gameplay is really, let me talk about the story a little bit first, because the story I thought was kind of just out there. I mean, you're a player. You have your choice when you do the story mode. You have a choice between 4 different generic players. They have various different skill sets, right? Like this guy is like super strong, and the next guy has like no strength at all, but all charisma.
Mm-hmm.
So that right there already sort of threw me off. I'm like, I don't know which player to pick, because whichever player you pick has a significant weakness somewhere, right? Usually they give you like a generic player that he's the, middle of the pack with a
All
bunch
around.
of different stats.
Mm-hmm.
But no, this one was like, if you're really strong, you're the slowest person on the, you're going to be super slow.
Mm-hmm.
You get to build up your strength, your attributes, your strength, your speed, your charisma, your grappling. Every time you win, you get money, and then you get to use that money to spend on upgrading yourself, like sort of like an RPG, which I thought was an interesting thing. I never played No Mercy, so I don't know if No Mercy you could do this on No Mercy. I was a big WWF WrestleMania 2000. That was my favorite wrestling game of all time, still is. Right, I'm nostalgic for that, and plus WCW versus NWO. You couldn't do that on those games. I don't know if you could do it in No Mercy, but I do like the fact that you can upgrade your character sort of like a RPG, right? Using money, which makes sense because you're a Street Fighter.
Yeah.
So the generic characters I didn't like at all. That was, I have to put that as a knock against the game. Definitely didn't like the generic characters that you get to choose to play the story mode. But you have to take over for your friend. Your friend gets hurt, and you got to help him out, and you do the street fight. And, you have to, ultimately, you want to beat the undefeated underground boss, D-Mob, which, funny enough, is Mr. God of War himself, Christopher Judd. He's the guy.
Really?
Christopher Judd voices D-Mob.
Oh, shoot. That's fantastic. I love it.
And he's the voice of Kratos in the 2018 God of War game on PS4.
Right. Oh, shoot. Good deal.
So he's been in video games. I wonder what other video games he's been in. I mean, I think this was no, this wasn't. He was still doing Stargate. He was Teal'c in Stargate, which was his big role. That was like his biggest role ever, at least at the time. Stargate, and that's where I know him from.
The SG-1?
SG-1, yes, the TV show that was on Showtime and then moved to the Sci-Fi Channel. It was like the biggest show of all, biggest sci-fi show of all time, like at that point in time. And it was on for 10 years and 2 spin-offs and 2 movies. Yeah. The gameplay is just how you expect it for an Aki, game. They use the unmodified Aki engine for this. So if you've played those N64 games, it still has those, the same similar gameplay. Where you strike. If you hold the button down, it's a strong strike. But if you're just pushing, it's a weak strike. If you hold the button down, it's a strong grapple. If you're just pushing the button, it's a weak grapple. Right. And then you can use the directional pad up, down, left, right to do different moves after you grapple. The one thing I got to say that I didn't like as I was playing this game, it felt like the ring was too small, because every time I went for a pin, it was a rope break, right? Because I do a move and I throw you down, and you don't look like you're next to the ropes, but apparently you are closer to the ropes because it was a rope break. That really was pissing me off, to be honest. And
were they all inside the wrestling rings, or did you have like street stuff too?
No, I didn't. Well, no, it's all inside a wrestling ring.
It is okay.
It's all inside a wrestling ring. I didn't really do any other modes other than I didn't do the survival mode or anything. I did just single battles. I didn't do the tutorial either. I just straight single battles and story mode. Right. So it felt like there was. It just felt like it was always a rope break, and it took me out of the experience.
They ended up fixing that in the sequel, so it's still a wrestling game, but now it's on the streets, and all along the edges is typically a crowd. So if you get too far, like the crowd gets involved, and they'll like push you back in and try and like manhandle you a little bit. So. Oh wow. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds. Now I definitely have to play the second game.
Oh yeah. Second game is legit.
But here's the thing: you have to be strategic. You can't just go for the pin, because every time that person kicks out, they gain a little bit of they gain a little of momentum every time they kick out. Yep. And the whole thing is you want to take that momentum away from them. So when you do pin them, they'll stay down for the 3. So you don't always go for the pin. You have to be strategic, because then you're going to prop them up, right? They kicked out, so now they're hulking up, right? Like they get like Hulk Hogan, and then they're shaking an Ultimate Warrior. So you don't want to pin just all the time. So But the cool thing I thought that was awesome, and again, I didn't play No Mercy. I have to preface that. I didn't, so I don't know. Excuse me if some of these features were in the No Mercy games. I didn't play that. They came out after WWF WrestleMania 2000.
Yeah,
you can focus on like the leg or the arm, and take the strength away from that leg or the arm. So if you want them to submit, right, just keep putting them in an arm bar all the time, and you'll see that the strength for that arm go down. And when it's zero, at some point they will submit to your arm bar or your leg bar, so you can work on different body parts. And I thought that was awesome. So that's something that I was like, wow, I was like 2003, how old was I? Early 20s, like 21, 22. I would have thought this was like, oh wow, I can work on your arm and your legs, right?
Yep. Yeah, super innovative, super innovative. Because I don't think any of the I still don't think any of the WWE SmackDown games really had that implemented yet. I think some of them may have had like head, chest, arms, and legs eventually, but this was definitely ahead of its time.
So I thought this was awesome. The music was awesome because it's all licensed music, right? You got real legit DMX songs and stuff.
So the rappers are pulling double duty, right?
The rappers are pulling double duty,
and they're also the main characters.
I don't think there's any original music for this. It's just all their licensed music that they already made for their albums or singles.
Sure. Which I think is enough. Like that, it's classic hits that kind of get you through.
Once your momentum is all the way up, it flashes, and then you can you're in the danger zone, and you could do like your special moves. You hit the right. Once you grapple, you do the right stick, and it does your special move. That's awesome. Funny enough, if the computer has it, you just get outside the ring and run around the ring for like 2 minutes as the person chases you, so their special can go down.
You're cheesing it, Dan.
That's what I did, man.
Can't do it. I can't do it.
As you go through the story, like you have to face a lot of low level nobodies, right? I think there are like 46 characters in total, and most of them are nobodies. Like you never, just regular characters, generic characters you never heard of. I remember unlocked this guy named Drake, and in my mind I was like, I got Drake. And it's some white guy with a mohawk, because Drake wasn't out back then.
Nope, he was still doing Degrassi High, I bet.
He was still doing Degrassi High in Canada. So,
oh my god.
I thought that was funny. It was like one of the first people to unlock was Drake. You could play as Drake now. I was like, oh wow, I got Drake. No, that's not really Drake. But you know what? When I go back and play, he will be Drake to me.
There you go.
All right. They got Drake in the game. Each of the hip hop artists are bosses. So once you beat them, then you unlock them in the regular game. There are no female rappers in the game, or artists in the game, other than Christina Milian.
Oh yeah,
who is not playable, but she's like the mob boss's girlfriend. So they used her likeness.
They fixed that in part 2. They had maybe like 4 or 5 female fighters.
And I'm glad they didn't have female fighters in this game. Well, actual like rap artists, because you do play as some females, the girlfriends, right? They were generic females, and the gameplay, the feel is terrible.
It's not good.
It's just terrible. Like they wearing high heels. Obviously, this is a different time, so you got to take that into account.
Right.
They're wearing high heels, and they have dresses on, and just the movement and trying to use them in a battle just didn't feel right. Like, because you're taking the custom movesets you had for these big guy wrestlers, and you're putting them in and it just didn't fit the female characters they had, which you can play, right? And then bless you. I didn't beat the story yet, but I've only had 2 matches with females, and it's again, the time they're fighting over a wrestler.
Of course.
So the motivation to play isn't there for me. It was just something I needed to get through, right? But once you actually do beat somebody, you unlock them, and you unlock a photo gallery of them in sexy poses. Again, the time, you have to keep the time. You have to keep the time period in mind. Does this game hold up? I'm gonna say yes. This game most certainly holds up.
It's a good time, right?
It's a good time. I mean, the best part of this game that I look forward to is playing as DMX. That's all I wanted to do. And you can unlock each character if you want. Only in non-story missions you can unlock them. You hold down all four trigger buttons, and you have to do button combinations in the player select screen, and then you can unlock them.
Nice.
The biggest thing that took me out of this game was the rope break. Right? It seemed like the ring was too small because or the characters were just too big because every time I threw them and I tried to pin them, it was a rope break. That got kind of annoying. And also trying to play defense, trying to be on a defense. It was, you just button mash and trying to get away or trying to do a reversal. And it seemed like if you let them get any type of momentum, it was hard to come back. You're getting your ass whooped.
Right.
So playing defense was definitely a chore in this. I found myself trying to run around the ring to get away from them, to do sort of like some charisma, you're posing so I can get some of my momentum back. And then you're doing a lot of hitting and smacking and punching, because I was afraid if I tried to grab them, they'll reverse it and then they'll get the momentum back and then get a special and then it was over.
Right.
So playing defense was tough in this game.
Yeah.
Let's see. How did people of the time look at this game?
Oh, that's what I'm actually curious about,
and we have to go to the Metacritic scores because 2003 Metacritic was still around. Well, it was, I think, at its infancy. It's only been around for a couple of years at this point.
Right.
I'm going on a PS2 version of it. Metacritic scores an 80. The GameCube version's 81.
Sure.
User score is at 8.7. Okay. The best score that they had was a perfect score from an outlet that no longer exists.
Oh, wow.
And the worst score was Eurogamer. They gave it a 3 or a 30. And they essentially said if Hulk Hogan and Eminem were forced to have an unholy union, Def Jam Vendetta would be the horrible result.
Wow. They didn't like the peanut butter and the chocolate. They're like, no.
They didn't like the combo. They didn't like the mechanics. They really didn't like the setting. They didn't like the story.
Wow.
This wasn't a big enough leap from the N64 games for them. I kind of get it. Yeah. I really do. I mean, again, my issues with the game are the defense, which again didn't play No Mercy, so I don't know how that plays. But in WWF WrestleMania 2000, had a similar issue with that. Right. That they could have fixed that. And definitely, just the whole rope break situation. So
yeah. A lot of those things they addressed in part 2. The larger moveset. They kind of took it outside. They got like rid of the ring situation. Still the same fighting system. They expanded the roster. There's now female fighters who are competent. they don't play as stiffly. But yeah, wow. I don't know. 30 seems a little low. 30 seems a little low. But
it seems a little low, but it's not the score that counts. The score that counts is my score.
Now, what do you give it, Dan? Now we're doing a 1 to 10 situation. 10 being the best, 1 being the worst. What is the Dan Robinson score?
I got to give this game an 8.
Nice.
I thought this game was really good.
Okay.
And I'm not finished with the game, but I want to go back and play. I want to go back and try to finish it. And level up my character, level up the strength, right? Because leveling up my defense, I got a guy that was like the defensive guy, and it was still hard to get away from people. So I'm just leveling up my strength, so my moves will hurt. It would do more damage to him. In sense, if I can get more offense in, I can get him down for the 1, 2, 3, or get him to submit in like a leg or arm bar, even though that's hard to do because every time you put them in a damn move, it's a rope break because they're never in the middle of the ring. Never in the middle of the ring.
Right.
So, all right, Dave, tell me all about Chrono Cross, because the only thing I know about Chrono Cross is that the main guy, Chrono, isn't in the game.
He is not.
That's the only thing I know about this game.
We'll get into that. So let me give you some background info on the game. Japanese release, November 18th, 1999. North American release, August 15th, 2000. I believe this was part of the summer Square... Wasn't Square Enix at the time. It was Squaresoft Summer of Games event, which was Threads of Fate and Legend of Mana, and then Chrono Cross that came out, and you got a little like bag, and you got a Squaresoft branded water bottle, both of which I lost. They were terrible condition, and honestly, the only good game out of the three of those was Chrono Cross. The other two were kind of like okay. But anyway, it was made by Square Product Development Division 3, published by Square Electronic Arts, which is interesting. I think they had some sort of publishing deal in the U.S. because a lot of these games around the time, Final Fantasy VIII and 9, and I think like Parasite Eve and whatever else were Square EA, which was interesting. And released on the PlayStation 1. It's a JRPG, and I played it on the PS1 via the PS2. So the PS1 backwards compatibility. All right. So this game, as you mentioned, is it's the sequel to the 1995 smash hit Chrono Trigger. And Chrono Cross is set within the same universe. The Chrono aspect being time, as opposed to, like, obviously Chrono, the main character. The first one was named because he was a time traveler, ultimately, at the end of the day. But Chrono doesn't appear as a playable character, but the universes are linked, right? The first game was all about time. This game is all about dimensional travel, which is kind of cool. You kind of go between two different worlds. I'll get into that in a little bit. But, and they have nods, like, as you're, like, playing the game, you'll notice that the battle victory sound or music is Frog's theme from the first one. And you'll meet characters that reference the first game and say little things and are related in a way. And you're like, oh, shoot. Maybe it's like a combined world type thing. And you find out like some big reveals later on. This game shipped over 1.5 million copies worldwide, which is insane. It got a greatest hits version on the PlayStation 1. It got a re-release as part of the Ultimate Hits series in Japan. And released on the PlayStation Network July 2011. So that would have been like PS3 era. And then 4 months later in North America. So just kind of a couple notes about the game and the game's scope. This game has 45 characters in it. 45 playable characters. Yeah.
Playable characters?
Yep. It has the same amount of characters as Def Jam Vendetta in a JRPG, which is insane.
Okay.
Yeah, you just like stumble over characters. Every damn like new town or cave or whatever thing you come into, you're probably going to run across a character you can recruit into your party. It's insane. And apparently the creator was doing a little bit of research on this. The creator of this game, he wanted 64 playable characters and had to pare it back to the essentials.
Well, listen, man. The story you got to tell a good story, and you need 40-something characters to do that.
You do, and he also wanted to have 64 characters have their own endings, 3 separate endings each. So the game could end in all these different ways based on who your party combination is, which bananas. So they had to scale a lot of it back to kind of fit the timeline. This was the next game after Xenogears that they worked on, right? Xenogears was, I think, towards the end of '98. This was the next big game that this studio was working on, so they had like a 2-year development cycle, and then that came out. So, a little bit about the gameplay. All right, so it's an RPG with a little bit of a twist, right? So
it's a turn-based RPG, right?
It is very much a turn-based RPG.
So it's not an action RPG.
No, it's not an action RPG.
Okay, so it's not a game that I would like.
For
the most
maybe.
part.
I think it's really interesting, but I don't know if you'd really get down with the battle system.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Okay. Well, I'll get into all that in a little bit. So like the one cool thing I think you hate, and a lot of people hate, is you can't see the enemies before you fight them. They just randomly like pop in. Right?
Oh man, they just jump out of nowhere and then come and and then you go into a battle.
Well, that's how typical RPGs are. Just like the original, you can see the enemies before you fight them. So if you want to get around them, you can just go right around them if they're not in your path, right? Because they'll like try and chase you and whatever if they get close enough. So if you're like, nah, I don't want to fight these guys, you can just like zip right around them, which is kind of cool. But you do a traditional turn-based situation, right? And you wait, right? So it's your turn, and then the enemy's turn, or your turn, and then your partner's turn, and then the enemy's turn. But yeah, you have up to 3 characters of a potential roster of over 40. I think 45 total characters, and you get like 7 action points, which you can either attack or use magic, right? And based on the power of the attack or the power of the magic, depends on how many points you use, and you can kind of like divvy those up. So you can say like, okay, there's 3 guys in the battlefield, I'm going to do some damage to this person, and then switch over to this monster, and then I'm going to use magic to like finish my turn, right? And I think you can even like swap between party members and say like, I want to save this guy's, the rest of this person's options, and use somebody else, and then go back to the main character or whatever it is, right? So there's a lot of strategy, right? They have this weird thing called the magic field. So you'll see like in the upper left hand corner, it'll be all these different colors, and that affects like if it's yellow, that means that like yellow magic is like amplified or whatever, right? If it's a different color, it could mean that like, okay, well now like water magic is powerful, but like lightning magic, which I think is yellow, is like nullified. So you have to be careful, right? So like certain characters use certain types of magic and are effective at certain times in the battle. So you gotta like keep that in mind. It's a little wild. Kind of unique. I haven't seen something like it in an RPG. I've seen things similar, but nothing like that unique. And none of this was in the original game. The original game had a different system. So it was like kind of interesting, like going back to that and working through that again. It was like, oh shoot, and then like as your characters level up, they get more and more powerful spells, and it's super neat. And everybody has their own specials. So every character's got up to 3 different specials. There's a level 3, a level 5, and a level 7, typically, and they're all unique, or they're mostly unique. So like of the 40 some odd characters, everybody's got their own special abilities. They've got their own weapons that they use. They got their own magic that they use. It's insane. So a little bit about the story, right? Not to spoil anything, so I kind of got to dance around some stuff. But basically, you play this guy named Surge. He's the new Chrono in this situation, right?
Is he a time traveler too?
He's a dimensional traveler. I can say that.
It's a dimensional traveler. They should
call
it. They should have called it, Dem Cross.
Dem Cross. No, it's Chrono Cross, as you're crossing between different dimensions, and it's like a time cross, right? That's the Chrono.
Yeah, Demo Cross. That's what it should have been called. Yeah. DC for short. DC. Demo Cross.
No. So you play as this guy Surge. He's a typical anime boy with the spiky hair. 17-year-old dude in a fishing village, right? And he basically
he's Cloud's cousin.
I mean, yeah, kind of, yeah. I mean, he's got a very anime, Japanese kind of character feel to him. So, but yeah, I mean, he ends up going into an alternate universe where he drowned and died 10 years earlier, which is kind of interesting.
What?
Yeah. So you have to kind of like, you basically like that's your driver into the game, right? You got to figure out, hey, what the hell happened to me, right? And
how did you die? Like, you got to figure out your own death?
Yeah, in this like alternate universe, right? Which is the same world, just different. What if these sets of things happened as opposed to the things that happened in your world up to that time? So when you transfer between the different universes or dimensions, you kind of see things that are kind of similar, but also like wildly different in like certain cases. And basically, like from like then on, you meet Kid, right? Kid is like your I don't want to necessarily say love interest, but kind of love interest. And you know, she's got a thing that she wants to do, right? She's trying to steal this thing called the Frozen Flame, which is kept in this tower, and she's got reasons for trying to get this Frozen Flame thing, right? And then you find out, oh, there's this guy Lynx, and Lynx is the main bad guy, more or less. And you're like, all right, we gotta find Lynx. We gotta get the Frozen Flame, and we have to kill Lynx, right? Because Lynx is the one who killed her mother when they burned down the orphanage. So she's got.
Wait, there's an orphanage that burned down?
Yes. So Kid is an orphan, and she wants to get revenge on Lynx. So that's like how that drives you to that point.
This is like a RP. This is an RPG.
Yep.
And people, you're dead, and you got to figure out how you die. And there's an orphanage that burnt down, and kids were in danger. Like,
man.
What?
Shit is real in this game. The shit is real. So that kind of gets you through, and that's only like the first half of the game. And then there's like a huge twist, and then there's a whole nother part of it. It's a super huge game. So I don't want to get into like all the spoilers and the whatever for people who haven't played the game, but that's just like some of the base of it. And you come across all these other characters that they all have backstories, right? You know, you get to play as this mother from the fishing village who uses a pot and pan as her weapon. And then you also get to play as her son, Korcha, which is like kind of cool, Matcha and Korcha. You can pick up a skeleton. There's a fungus you can get and play as, like little dogs can be in your party. There's a aspiring rock star. There's a million different characters, robots and whatever else. All these like super cool people that you can get to play in Chrono Cross. That's kind of cool. And you can kind of swap in and out between party members at any time. You can just kind of like flip. And, you know, Surge is the guy that basically needs to be in your party the whole time because he's the main character. But, Yeah, it's kind of wild. It's kind of wild. As far as the graphics go, it is definitely of its time, just like Final Fantasy 7 and 8. And some of the other games of the time, it's 3D models for the characters and a lot of the stuff in the world, and 2D rendered backdrops, which have some motion. So think a little bit like Resident Evil, right? Where you kind of go through the different scenes, but they have motion. You know, you see like the waves of the water will move, and you know the flags will kind of go back and forth. So it's kind of cool. And one thing to note. This game in particular, if you ever try and play it on like modern TVs or whatever else, or even like clone consoles or whatever else, you can have some trouble because the game runs in 240p normally, except when you go to the menu, it runs in 480i. And certain TVs can't process 480i out of the box, so you have to be careful. You typically have to get like one of those like Frame Meisters or OSSCs or whatever to be able to like handle the switching properly, because usually it just goes black or it like flashes or whatever. It gives you like a bunch of issues. So yeah, it's interesting. Sound is top notch. They got back the original composer again, Yasunori Masuda. He worked on the original and also Xenogears, and then returned to Chrono Cross. Solid game, three disc soundtrack, I think, like over 60 tracks in the game. Just amazing. Very, very good stuff, and good to listen to outside of the game. I pop it on every now and again and just kind of play. So, does this game hold up? 100% yes. 100% yes. It's good.
Any game where you have to figure out how you died probably holds up, because that's in any generation that's kind of like creepy.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Look, I mean, like the story's good. All of that stuff holds up. It is engaging, you know, even kind of going back to it. I forget a lot of the little bits. So going back to playing it, I was like, oh yeah, this happened, and then this happened, and all these like little things that kind of lead up. So it was kind of cool rediscovering all of that. The gameplay still holds up, although it is a little bit grindy, because you've got 45 characters that you don't have to level up, but
it's probably in your best interest to level up at least a bunch of them, right?
Yeah. Well, the one thing that they did right.
How does that work with an RPG when you have like 50,000 characters? Like, what's the purpose of having all of those characters? And do you have to sit there and get them all to a certain level of strength to progress in the game?
You could literally just use like the main core. I think there's only like maybe 7 to 10 characters you actually have to get, or you will get during the course of your adventure, and you could just use those guys and beat it. I think it was just a more is more situation, right? They're like, why don't we just put a ton in there? Because like I always like looking at like Final Fantasy II had 12 playable characters. Final Fantasy VI had 14 playable characters. I was like, yeah, more. And it was young, and I had time to power all these guys up and whatever else. And then you get to Chrono Cross, and you're like, 45 characters? Yeah. Turns out not the best idea, because not everybody gets a fully fleshed out backstory. A lot of them are just kind of, you just run across them and they're like, I'll be in your party. I'm like, okay. So some of them aren't that interesting. They don't get a lot of time in, with their plot points and whatnot. So it's like, I could probably do with like half. If they had like 20 playable characters, it'd probably be a lot better. Yeah. The one thing they do right, though, is they basically auto level up the characters as you go through. So you don't necessarily have to grind up everybody, right? So they'll still get level bonuses just like everybody else. You get additional bonuses when you're in your party, but like you could still use a guy you haven't used from the beginning of the game, and he would still be like a viable character. So it's not too bad. It's the one thing they did right with it.
Okay.
Best parts about the game, obviously the graphics and the sound and the overall game world, right? You play in this like tropical paradise. The whole thing is like beach themed, right? You start off in a fishing village that's right on the water, super cool. There's a lot of sun and sand in this game. A lot of jungle environments and undersea stuff. It's really cool. And then obviously the worst part about the game, I kind of talked about it, is the 40 plus characters.
No, it's the name. Should have been Dem Cross. I'm saying it now.
Terrible.
Dem Cross.
The 40 plus characters.
Demo Cross. There we go. Demo Cross.
No.
For demolition. Listen, dimensional crossing. That's what it was. That should have been short. I'm sorry.
It'd be Dim Cross. DIM as opposed to DEM.
Well, listen, we don't have to be perfect one-to-one.
Get out of here.
Demo Cross.
No. Worst part about the game is the 40 plus characters. Too much. And a lot of them are just throwaways, So you find your couple of characters, and you're like, all right, these are my guys. I'm going to use these guys throughout the game. It was a cool idea. But it's a lot. So to get into get into some of the reviews, right? This obviously this game came out in 2000. The Metacritic very much in its infancy. I don't even know if it was necessarily out yet, but we do have some reviews from it. So these may have been retroactive reviews. People may have gone back and said, okay, I'm going to review this game, and here's the score for it. And it came from an outlet or whatever it is. But overall Metacritic score of 94, which is crazy. User score of 8.8. I'm surprised it's so low. Highs of 100 and lows of 75, which I 100% agree with. 100% agree with. Because it does have some missteps. I don't think it's as good as the original. I don't think the story is as tight. Original only had like 7 characters, and they all had backstories, and you learned about everybody, and they were all given equal story time, which was super cool. But still a good game. And just like a little bit of a pull quote from one of the reviews, right?
I think this was from Retro. I think this was from Games Radar, if I'm not mistaken. Right. This quote.
Games Radar, yeah. So while paling in comparison to its celebrated predecessor, Chrono Cross's great character design and intriguing combat system ensure that the game is anything but the misfire it could have easily been. And I think that's a perfect way to sum up this game in like a single sentence. Yeah. All
right, but Dave, that's what Games Radar thought.
That's right.
That doesn't count. What counts is what you think. What would you score it?
Out of 10, 1 to 10, 10 being the best, as we established, I'm going to give this game a 9.
Wow.
I'm gonna give this game a 9.
That's high. Wow. Okay.
If they kind of fix the issues with the characters and they were given more time, because I know that the creator wanted to do something a little bit bigger than what the ultimate game was, which was already like a 40-plus hour game with New Game Plus, where you can go and get some of the additional characters, which was insane. Then I'd give it a 10, I think, if they fix some of that stuff. But otherwise, it's like perfect across the board.
They need to fix a couple of things for me to even play this game. They need to actually change the name to Demo Crossing.
I don't think that has to do with anything, but okay.
They need to change this to an action RPG.
All right.
Instead of a turn-based RPG, they need to break it down to just one character instead of 40. I don't need 40. Just give me
45, by the way.
Okay, 45. Just give me one. Well, there you go. Okay, give me two. Give me two characters, playable.
It's got to be at least 3, otherwise the battle system doesn't work.
Okay, give me 3. Give me 3 characters. That's it. All right, and make it linear to where I can find out how I died. That's all I want. That's all I want.
That kind of kills a lot of the game. That's not going to happen.
All right. Well, you know what? That's the game I want.
Although this game is definitely ripe for a remake. They should certainly redo this game soup to nuts for modern consoles. I think people would be all about it. The fans definitely want it. Haven't heard anything about Chrono in the Chrono series. They did have a Chrono Break, which they had a patent for, I think. For a little bit, they had a patent on the name. They never did anything with it. I think it was supposed to be the 3rd one in the series. Who knows? And then the only other thing that came out for this was Radical Dreamers, which came out on the Satellaview.
Oh, man. Oh,
it was one of those visual novel type things. And there is some references to Chrono Cross. So they kind of took some of that stuff from, like, Surge is mentioned in there. He's one of the main characters of the story, but it's kind of like an alternate type situation. It's supposed to be like an addendum to Chrono Trigger, but it was only in Japan, only on the Satellaview. I don't know if anybody translated it, so I don't know if there's like an English version out there. But yeah, that's kind of interesting. But just like those 2 games in the series, yeah.
Okay.
That's it. Well, all right, folks. That is episode 12 of Saturday Morning Retro in the books. It's our 1-year anniversary. Very happy to be here. Very happy that you guys are listening to us and watching us right now. Means a lot. If you want to interact with us, and we know that you do, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Rated G for Gamers. And just a reminder that we have the special giveaway going on right now for 1 copy of Assassin's Creed Valhalla for the Xbox One/Series X. 1 copy will be given to the lucky winner. So head on over to our Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, or Instagram, like this poster video, and leave a comment and tell us which Assassin's Creed game is your favorite and why. Note, you can enter once per episode and once per social media service. And this contest is open to U.S. residents only. Good luck to everyone who enters. And finally, we are part of the Gaming Podcast Alliance. You can check out all of the fine podcasts featured on there at gamingpodcastalliance.com if you're looking for more gaming goodness. So, please listen, like, rate, review, and subscribe. And as always,
keep gaming.